Next piece of news that came out a few days ago, I found out about this in the Hollywood Reporter. There was an article released. I'll tell you what the title of it. How much is too much Marvel and Star Wars? Disney rethinks franchise output. So as you know, they fired their old CEO, Bob Chapek.
The guy you love so much. You're a number one fan
No
of him.
one really liked this guy. And they brought back the previous old CEO, Bob Iger, who had, he's the guy who acquired Lucasfilm and Star Wars for Disney and all the Marvel properties.
Seemed like a good idea.
This is the guy who led Disney to record heights. So the board brought him back for 2 years. So he's only got 2 years because he retired. I mean, let the guy enjoy his retirement. So according to the Hollywood Reporter, and I'm going to put this up on screen here, after years of Marvel and Star Wars movies and shows inundating big screens and small, so getting a lot of Disney Plus stuff, Disney is putting the brakes on the output of some of its biggest franchises and brands following Bob Iger's February 8th comments that the company needs to be better at curating franchise content that's extraordinarily expensive. Because it is really expensive to make these things.
Ugh.
Added Iger, we want the quality on the screen, but we have to look at what they cost. So they're using this as fiscal management is their reasoning, but really what they're doing is they're going to say, instead of pumping out all these Marvel movies and shows a year, we're going to go back to maybe just doing 2 Marvel movies and 1 show a year and make them really good, which is what they used to do.
Unfortunately, I think Star Wars is going to get axed because of this. And I'd much rather see Star Wars things than Marvel things.
Well, we are getting Star Wars things, except they've all been on Disney Plus. So they've been on the small screen. So what they're doing with Star Wars, according to this, is one thing Bob Iger wants to do is he wants to bring Star Wars back to the big screen. Because it's been 4 years since we had a Star Wars movie in the theaters.
Well, Solo wasn't very good.
No, but people are liking Solo more. There's a lot more love for Solo lately. Alden Ehrenreich played Solo, the young Solo. He's been in the news talking. It's a non-story, but he's been in the news talking, saying, yeah, he wants to come back and be in Star Wars more. That's a non-story. Actor wants to be in a big movie and get paid millions of dollars. Of course they want to.
What about the animated stuff? That can't be as expensive.
Animation takes forever.
Oh. Well, hopefully we'll get... I'd much rather Star Wars content than any new Marvel content. Now, you're the opposite of me.
I like both.
Yeah, you really like Marvel stuff.
We just started with Ant-Man the Wasp. We started Phase 5. So they ended Phase 4, and people didn't like it. It was very hit and miss. It had some hits, but overall people were underwhelmed and was a lot of lackluster productions, whether it be on Disney Plus or the movies. So Ant-Man the Wasp Quantumania is the start of Phase 5. I'll continue on this article. The directive to rein in costs and output arrives as Disney prepares to release Ant-Man's Marvel and the Wasp Quantumania on February 17th, so that's already came out. And as The Mandalorian Season 3 awaits its March 1st Disney Plus debut, Marvel is Disney's most important supplier of product, and they've been providing the most, because they were directed to put in as much, they were directed to not put out quality, but quantity. And I think that's because of Bob Chapek and his upper management that he put in place, which I believe Bob Iger is getting rid of now.
Confusing too many Bobs. Just too many old white guys.
Yeah. Well, under Bob, we talked about before, previously at Disney, under Bob Iger, he got rid of all that and he had the studio heads. These are the creative people like Kevin Feige, Kathleen Kennedy at Lucasfilm, the head of Pixar, the head of Disney Studios. They answered directly to Bob Iger, to the CEO.
Right.
What Bob Chapek did was he came in and started running it like any other business. He brought in a bunch of his accountant and finance and business friends and put in several layers of management between those studio heads and the CEO, and that's why we end up getting way more quantity because they wanted it for Disney Plus, and we also got lower quality. Got like all those 6-episode shows which were god awful. People didn't like that. And a lot of lackluster stuff. Continuing on here, Marvel is the subsidiary of the highest output, and under Iger's directive, it could feel cuts the soonest. There is going to be a level of rigor on Marvel and across the entire company, one company insider says. Numbers matter now, and costs are going to be outlined and enforced. So instead of producing 5, 6 things at a time from Marvel Studios, they're going to produce 2 or 3 and make them better. Okay? Because then you get your best people working on them instead of having to hire more and more people, and then you have less oversight by the executive producers like Kevin Feige and his lieutenants. So then we can get back to having better quality of stuff.
Right.
What do you think about this?
Well, it's just frustrating. Like, seeing, yeah, basically what happened at our work was the same. One old white guy leaves and you bring in another old white guy from retirement. Maybe they need some fresh looks at this stuff, and they really need someone who can look at this stuff objectively and say, there's something wrong with this and we need to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's still been a problem. Under the previous guy too, we got some really terrible Marvel movies. I don't know. I just find, and they just need to really edit their stuff before they start making these movies.
I agree. I think this is good news because they're going to be focusing more on quality over quantity, which is what people want.
Perhaps. I mean, there was a lot of things made under him that weren't the greatest. So,
Under Kevin Feige?
No, under the
Iger.
previous Bob. Yeah, I don't know. They just need to really look at some of these things and look at how they're treating things and just have better editors. Seems like.
Editing only does so much, but I think I understand your point.
Editors of the story.
I mean, that's the way they do it. Whenever Marvel schedules a production, they schedule in reshoots because when they're doing post-production and editing it after the initial production, they look at it and they'll be like, this doesn't work, and they come up with ideas, and then they do that in the reshoots.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to have good creative people working on it, and if if people are so stretched thin, then you end up, and they can't contribute to it because they're working on multiple projects, then the quality will go down. So I think this is good news.
People that left also under the previous Bob Chapek.
Yeah,
like Kathleen Kennedy left, and I'm sure there was others that left.
She's still there, but she's on her way out.
Yeah, well, she was probably frustrated, I'm assuming.
Maybe, but there's a lot of Star Wars fans that are glad that she's leaving, so I don't want to weigh in on that. What do you think about this news about these change up at Disney? This is a good article in the Hollywood Reporter. It goes on to talk more about Star Wars and Pixar studios as well, which are both under Disney. So I think it's good news. What do you guys think? Leave us a comment down below. We'll read it out on the next episode.